see your growth, it's amazing. Always evolving on a daily. She got a smile that's contagious. Got hella joy, don't let them take it. I see your passion, I like.
Hello, y'all, and welcome back to another Real Talk. So, this Real Talk is going to be a little different. And I'll say that because everything that I talked about in that video, when it comes to me feeling emotions in moments where I would need my mom and talk to my mom, I was immediately rushed with this feeling of emotion after I released that video because I found myself having to make a decision, and I would have loved to have been able to call my mom and for her to make the decision for me. And it's one of those decisions that's going to affect my life. It's going to affect my day to day. It's literally going to affect everything. And I'll probably talk about it more when the situation is closed and finalized. Y'all are going to see in real time my, I almost have like this days, like that thing when I was talking about when I'm present in the physical, but mentally my mind is somewhere else. So I was going to erase the whole real talk that I did because I did my real talk initially the day after I filmed the podcast because I wanted all my emotions to still be raw and real, and I still wanted to be in that moment. But when I was faced with those issues that came so abruptly after the filming, I think that it really shows in hindsight like what I'm explaining in the actual podcast episode. So I did not, for the sake of this platform and me wanting to be this example of realness and rawness, I did not delete the videos. I'm going to include the videos in this real talk because there was still a message. And often at times, I think that we are so afraid of what's going on when we're telling our message. But I don't want to take away the power of the message because there was a lot of things that I said that I don't think that I could reiterate in the same manner. So I want to keep it. So this is just the intro to my real talk. So right now, I'm going to give you guys what the real talk was supposed to be. And then I'm going to come back at the end and we have a lot to talk about. But without further ado, you're going to see the real talk that I was meaning to release. So watch that and then meet me right back here and then we'll talk. Okay. So welcome back to our third Real Talk series. By now, I hope that you are here because you watched the grief episode. And I want to say real quick, when it comes to the grief episode, I was thinking after I saw the clips that are used to promote the podcast, I was like, I don't want people to see these clips and automatically assume like this is just another girl telling a sad story. Because that's not the purpose of me telling my story. And I never want to get caught in being a victim or having this victim mentality. But I tell my story so that people can see that there's more if you keep going. That doesn't have to be the end. That could just be the beginning. And sometimes that there is protection in rejection, right? Like sometimes things don't work out or you're not accepted in certain spaces or you're not because you don't fit there and you're meant to kind of go outside of that box and to find your own or to create your own lane. So I definitely feel like I want to push past the tears and the hurt because I want people to understand the message on the other side of that. So that's how I feel about that. And I just wanted to start off this video by saying that because I felt a way, like there was a whole video clip that I didn't want to share because it was like me crying. And I felt like, dang, I don't want people to just see me crying and think I'm looking for sympathy or like looking for someone to just feel bad for me. That's not what it is. I want y'all to know like At one point in time, I was broken. At one point in time, I was down bad. Like, and I did not ever see myself pushing through to have my own podcast. I never saw myself in those moments, pushing through those hard moments, to be owning my own business, to just make it past that moment. And I want this to encourage people who are in moments where they don't see past it and where they feel like I'm never coming out of this. There's no point in me coming out of this because no one believes in me. No one cares to see me push past this. And you just feel so lonely that you can't see anything else other than where you're at. This is specifically for you. You're going to get through it if you keep going. It's not going to be easy. It might not happen tomorrow. It might not happen the next day. But if you have a purpose, if you feel this passion, first of all, everybody has purpose. You just have to find what your purpose is. Never give up on figuring that out. Never give up on a passion. Never give up on something that has been placed in your heart with this burning desire. Never give up on that because that's the thing that's going to keep you going. I was trying to do this when I was homeless. I remember being in situations where something bad had just happened to me and I was setting up a camera and telling my story. I didn't understand why, but that is what kept me going. The fact that I felt like I'm going through this because somebody else needs to see this. Some days that was my sole purpose. It wasn't even about me. It was about whoever was on the other end looking at that video because I wanted to save someone else for feeling like me in the midst of me feeling that way myself. So, but let's get into this episode of grief. I know y'all see our girl. I got my mic. So I feel like when I talked about my family dynamic, I didn't really explain, like I know I said in the second part, I'm gonna explain where I'm at today with my family and different things like that, but I never really got into it. And I feel like because I got so caught up on the journal and talking about that, but I wanna kind of shed light to where I'm at today with my family, right? Because I feel like from my family's perspective, they definitely know that I don't rock with them, right? But I don't think they understand why. And I think that people don't understand when you force someone to live and survive without you, when they get on the other side of that, you're not needed anymore. And I think that people don't realize why, if you couldn't stay down with me through my bad, why do you deserve this other person? Why do you deserve the other side of that? Because on the other side of that person, I had to fight to be this person. I had to, yeah, I had to fight to be this person. So if you weren't around during that fight, if you didn't contribute to that fight, if you didn't push me through, if you didn't feed life into me, if you weren't someone who was driving that passion out of me, if you weren't someone who was checking on me to make sure that everything, that if I needed some encouragement, if you used that time to beat me down when I was already down, you're not going to be around when I am making my way up. And I say that to say there's no animosity, there's no hate. But I say this all the time. I have to leave people at where they got weird with me. And if you got weird with me or you counted me out, at a certain point, you have to stay there and you have to watch me elevate without you. And that's how I feel when it comes to my family. I still love them, but it gets to a certain point in life that you have to see people for who they are, or you'll end up hurting yourself trying to see the potential in people or trying to see the good in people, because sometimes that good is only 25% of somebody. And I think sometimes too, when people know you personally, it's hard for them to see you go through these battles and come out a different person, because it triggers something in them that why didn't they do it for themselves? Especially when they have gone through similar things that you have gone through, it almost frustrates people, or it ignites this anger that, okay, so if she did it, why can't I do it? And I feel like sometimes that makes people uncomfortable and they react in different ways. I feel like and that's what makes people act out and they don't feel comfortable around you. So they attack you. They project different things on you. And I just feel like I'm just at that space where I gotta fight for me and mine. Um, and if you're trying to feed my downfall, I can't have you around. Um, that's how I feel. So I say all that to say, when it comes to my family, I'm very careful, very, very careful. I try to reconnect with certain individuals in my family, but it's hard because I hear my mom's voice in my head and the things that she used to say about people or the things she tried to warn me about people. I'm starting to see it for myself. And sometimes these are people that I even try to defend to her. And I tried to stick up for them because I didn't want to see who they were. And she would try to tell me all the time, no, like, and if you think about it, these are people that I was young, I was 20, so she was trying to explain things to me, people she knew her whole life for 40 or 50 years. So now it's like I have to take her word for it because she's not here to protect me. So now I have to protect me and mine. When it comes to my daughter, she's not close to my family at all. She doesn't really know who my family is. She knows of certain people, but she doesn't have a relationship with anyone in my family. And that's kind of done strategic too to protect her from the things that I had to go through with my family. Um, and I also often say, like, family, I feel like I've picked my family. So I've recreated that family structure for her so she's not missing out or lacking anything. I feel like family is more than blood because sometimes the people who you share blood with and you share this DNA or a last name or whatever it is, people feel like they can do you a certain way because at the end of the day, oh, we're family. This is just how we are. Oh, you got to forgive this person because that's this. That's no. Everybody needs to like respect your boundaries. Everybody needs to respect you. So I don't feel that way. That you just gotta deal with people because they're family. And I felt that guilt for a while. People used to be like, but that's your da 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 da. But that's your. Okay, well, they knew that I was their cousin. They knew that I was their niece. They knew that I was their granddaughter. And they chose to say certain things or treat me a certain way. So why do I have to remember who they are in order to. It's like almost I have to give up my boundaries and my peace in order to remain at a close proximity to people. And I just realized that it wasn't worth it. I can't speak for other people, but me being around isn't worth my peace or my sanity. And that's what I had to realize. So I wish them all the best. Um, and I still love them. Like I said, we have so many great memories when I was a child. I have so many great memories with my family, but I hold on to those memories in space of me making new ones with them. So that's what I'll say for that. Um, Another thing with my family too, like when I said certain things, I don't know if I got into it where I was like, there was family members that was trying to hold my mom to a certain standard with me of like, oh, don't help her do that or don't help her with this or she needs to be an adult. But I have aunts and uncles that literally have been taking care of their kids in jail while their kids were in jail for their whole life. And then they came out of jail and they're still taking care of them. But they were in my mom's ear to not take care of me and not to help me. Or certain people who have enabled their kids and who literally pay their bills and they're alcoholics and drug addicts, but was holding my mom to a certain standard to not do certain things for me. Or so when it comes to things like that, it's often times where like people hold you to something that they can't even do for themselves. And I think that when that can't be talked about, that's another issue I have when it comes to the older generation. We can never talk about things that are actually like out of respect and out of, oh, that's just the way things are. Well, that doesn't work for me. Like, if we're not going to be able to talk about the reality of situations, then I can't be around. Um, so that was another part of my grieving, when I didn't get to talk about where my anger was coming from, because it's like everybody wants to be like, oh, you're an adult or you're grown, so you have to like figure this out by yourself. So why can't you let your 40-year-old son who's in prison figure it out for himself? Or your son who's an alcoholic, who you pay all their bills and you even give him toilet paper to wipe his ass. Why can't he figure it out? But y'all expect me to figure out at 20 as a single mom. You know what I mean? So um, that was something else that I didn't really get to talk about. And when we go back to the funeral, too, I think because I had this anger towards my family, during the funeral, like I said, I was very much isolated. I was very much alone. On the way to the funeral, there was a family car, and it was me, my grandma, my aunt, and even down to that, like they were arguing, and it was a big deal about who I wanted in the family car to support me. Oh, why do they get to ride in the family car? I don't want them in the family car. We're going to a funeral. Like, why are we arguing about who's going to be in the family car? Like, it was just certain things like that that just make you lose respect for people, because it's this me mentality, not thinking, okay, if this person being in the family car is going to help her get through this day, let's just allow it. Because at the end of the day, this is her mother's funeral. Certain things like that, it just didn't sit well with me, and I don't think there's anywhere I can cut. If I'm real with myself, once people reveal themselves, it's hard to like come back from moments like that. So I say all these things to kind of explain the history of my family dynamic and why I am just at the point where it's like, I love y'all, but y'all got to stay over there respectfully. Um, Also, speaking about grief, I think this also goes back to understanding that before my mom passed, I was one person. After my mom passed, it turned me into a whole different person. And I won't say it's negative, because I definitely feel like before my mother passed, I was very spoiled. I didn't have any work ethic. Um, I was immature. I was well, and two, we're talking about me being in my early 20s, so that makes sense. But I didn't have this mentality that I have now. I was very naive, and I might have became this person as time went on, because I'm 32 now, and I'm talking about the 24-year-old version of myself. So that does make sense now that I'm thinking about it. I do have to give myself that grace, but I feel like grief just turns you into a different person. The lessons that you learn through grief, um, the dark place that you have to pull yourself out of, I think that that also plays a part in grief as well. So it really turns you into someone else, I would say. And I have to fight to be around people. I have to push myself out of, because I could be a loner. I can isolate myself. I thrive in situations where it's just me, where I can just be alone. When doing stuff like this is why I thrive, because I literally just have to do it with me. Kind of like group projects in school, like, right? Like, I'm not the group project type, but I don't want to collab. I do want to collab. Let me not say that I don't, but like, it's easier to just like do things on my by myself. I'll say that. So I'm definitely feel like it's a struggle for me to push myself past who I am comfortable in being. And it's so crazy, because I used to be such an extrovert. I used to be a people's person, and I was always the girl who made people laugh. And but now it's just like I be chilling. I used to be the girl who wanted everyone to love her and to like her. I want to be everybody's friend. And now I'm like, people will be introducing people. And I'm like, hey, how you doing? You know, like, hey. My comfort is in being alone. Um, so yeah. But that episode was like really, you know what I'm noticing too? Sometimes it's really hard for me to articulate how I feel and to use the right words in the moment because I'm so used to like not expressing how I feel and not expressing my emotions. So sometimes when y'all hear me say like, or I'm repeating myself or I'm like using the wrong words, I think that it's just me fighting my inner self, like me trying to push past just suppressing what I have to say. Because a lot of times when I'm in conflict with someone, or like when I'm just talking, or when I'm defending myself, or when I'm trying to express myself, I shut down. So this platform is really pushing me to put words to my feelings. So the same way that I'm creating this platform to help other people, I'm starting to see that a lot of this is for self as well. Like a lot of this is pushing me to places I didn't realize I needed to go. Um, so that's interesting in this journey as well. But if you're here, I know I keep saying this and I don't want to be repetitive in my words, but I really want to say thank you because you're like watching a journey of someone who was just following their passion. And that's really what it is. Like, I am really just feeding a passion, and I'm just the journey from the first episode to now. I see a change, and it's been a month, and that's exciting to me. Like, I think they always say the thing in life that brings you the most joy is when you can do something and not have to worry about the the outcome of it. Like I'm not worried about how much I make an episode or how many things. No, like I love to show up and do this. This is what brings me life. This is what brings me joy. This is what brings me happiness. Doing this, like connecting with people, inspiring people, speaking life into people. So I'm happy that y'all are a part of that journey and that you're here with me. Okay, so you just watched what I was saying, and I probably didn't have to explain it. Y'all would have saw it for yourself what I'm talking about. Um, I was just very much in a daze, trying to figure out so many things at one time. My mental is just like jumping all over. Um, but a couple things I want to. So when I said rejection is protection, what I meant was the fact that I was just rejected by, I know we haven't got to the episode on church hurt yet, and my outlook on the church that I was involved in at the time, and just the people in the church and the whole situation. But I was rejected from the church. I felt like, in my opinion, I was rejected from the church. I was rejected from my family. I was rejected from a lot of friends around me. And I often say rejection was my biggest protection because who I am today, this person in all that I'm doing now, I would have never been able to blossom into this person today because you cannot heal and transform around the people who are continually hurting you, who are continually looking down on you, who are continually speaking nothing but like everything but life into you. Um, and I do believe that me moving to Connecticut was like the biggest blessing. Like when I tell you the support system that I have here, just it's like night and day completely. And that's why everyone says like sometimes you got to get out of your hometown, and that's how I felt. I also feel like with my family, when you're talking about the older generation, I do believe that they're very toxic because they see everything as disrespect when you're calling them out on things that matter or the things that have taken place. They like to hide from it and they like to just throw, oh, don't be disrespectful. And that was always my problem, honestly, growing up. That was something that my mom used to tell me because if something was going on and I heard her talking about it behind closed doors, when it was time when everyone got together, I'm the one that said, okay, so why did you say that? Why did you do that? My mom used to be like, shh, shh, shh. And it's like, no, like, I want to know why is this stuff being done? But that was always disrespectful. So I've always had a problem with that as a child. But I think that just that toxicity, like I know I did A, B, and C to you, but we're family, so let's just sit down and enjoy this meal together and let's not talk about it. I don't like that. I, I'm just not that type of person. Like before I sit down and break bread with you, or before I continue in being in this like closeness with you, we gotta talk about what happened before, so it cannot happen again, or that I can know what I did, you did, you know. And my family is really not into that. They're just so toxic. Like it's just so toxic. And I would say, especially with the older generation, like my aunts and my grandmother, and like I remember even when after all this was taking place, my mom passed away at the end of September, and my grandma and my aunt went to go spend the first Christmas that my mom was gone with my mom's husband. And when I finally came around, when I stopped making everything about me and I finally came around to my family, and sometimes I have these moments where I feel bad and I'll try to pop in on my family and be like, hey, and it's always just like, this is why. This is why I don't deal with y'all. Like every time every time I try to extend myself, every time I try to, it's just like, this is why. And I was starting to like tell my grandma how I felt, and she cut me off like she couldn't even hear me. And she was just like, okay, well, all that's in the past. I just want to move on. We just need to enjoy each other. We just need to like, and it's like, I don't think that's how that works. So that's what I mean when I say rejection is protection because thank God I would have went cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs if I would have never left Rocky Mount. I would have became everything that everyone was saying I was. I would have because when people have their mind made up about you, it's a done deal. I don't care what you do. I don't care how far you become from that. They're going to have their mind made up because that's what they see. And the people around them that are on the same agenda as them, they're going to validate you. When people have their mind made up, you just have to walk away. And I think I got to that point in my family. Like, I'm not trying to prove y'all right no more. I'm not trying to prove y'all wrong. It is what it is. And I remember when I first started my The Real Joy journey, I remember like posting stuff. And I remember one time I like made this post like, I survived everything. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. But it was more in the sense of like, I want to prove people wrong. Like, ah. But this journey is so different when I took a step back and I really did the healing. And then I came back to do this. Like, this is not to prove people wrong. This is like, does it feel good? Of course. But is my sole purpose to show like you were wrong about me? Like, no. No. Sometimes, like this is the, so you think about this, I'm talking about stuff that's happened in 2018, 2019. It is now 2025. Sometimes you got to go on and live your life and let people think what they want to think. And it'll show. That's all I got to say. Sometimes you have to go on and live your life and let people believe and let people think what they want. But it's going to show your journey, your path, where you end up, how God blesses you, how everything just, it's going to show. So I say all that to say, I hope I encourage somebody. Sometimes don't tell your story. It'll all come out in the end. Just ask God to order your steps through it, give you the grace and mercy to continue to go on about your journey in a way. And it's not easy. It's not easy to turn your ear or to turn your cheek when people are saying things about you that's not true, when people are attacking your character, when people are attacking you as a child, as a daughter, when people are attacking you as a mother, when people are attacking you as a person. It's not easy. But God, I'm going to leave that right there. So glad that I waited to do this real talk, like this part of it, because like I said, y'all, I have been going back and forth about a decision this week. And yesterday, Jamie was like, "You want to go to church with me?" I was like, "Yeah, for sure. Like, I need to go to church. Like, because, like I said, I have some church hurt from the past, and I can't wait to do my episode on that. And I feel like I've been hesitant to just like join a church, be a part of a church. But let me tell you, the confirmation that I got last night at that church service. First of all, y'all heard me just say in this episode that was filmed on Monday. I filmed that on Monday when I was talking about how I thrive in isolation and I thrive in being by myself. Y'all, this pastor don't know me from nothing. I was worshiping, I was praising in the service. So at the end of the service, he's wrapping up. He's about to give his benediction. He's about to take up the offering. He says, "You right there, the young lady sitting next to Sister Jamie, raise your hand. God told me to tell you."
Young lady that's with Sister Jamie, just lift your hands for a moment. I wasn't going to do this. I told God, I said, "God, if she comes back, I'll tell her." What the Lord told me, he said, you might never get another opportunity. Nothing bad about you, but said that I may never get another opportunity. And it's up to me to be obedient to what the Spirit of the Lord says. The Lord says to tell you that this is your season to trust him again. And some of the issues that you've been dealing with in life has been people issues. We all have people issues. We all have trust issues. But the Lord says that this is a season where he wants you to see that he brought you out of it. And there's been many times where, because of the situations of your past, where you have put yourself in what I want to call the isolation box. If I stick to me, if I stick to myself, and I stick to I won't have to deal with what I dealt with before. But God said that was really a preparation season for you. It was to toughen you up. It was to cause you to have thick skin for this next season of your life that you are about to enter. And I dare tell you that you're about 2 years behind where you're supposed to be. And so let this be a release for you in this season, that God says, yes, I called you. Yes, I've ordained you for a season and a time such as this. No longer hiding behind the shame of what was, but living in the glory and the expectation of what is to come. I want you to be blessed. I want you to live in freedom, no longer walking in fear, but being free in who God has called you to be. I need somebody to clap your hands for sis.
I said, "What?" Y'all, that right there, ain't no way. You cannot tell me God is not real. You cannot tell me God is not real. I said, "Oh, wow." And it's crazy because he said I'm 2 years behind in the situation that I'm talking about, that I've been going back and forth with. I've been going back and forth with for 2 years. Child, I said, wow. I said, wow. But I say all that to say your girl is going to work on her isolation, because he said that loud and clear. And I said, oh, okay. I hear you, God. I hear you, mighty man of God. Podcast journal is live, y'all. Let me see if I can pull it up, actually. For the podcast journal. Isn't it so beautiful? So right now, because you're watching this, because you've been here with me, because you're locked in with me, this journal is only $8.99. You can download it. You can use it on your iPad. You can print it out. You can gift it to someone, but it's only $8.99. The price will increase. This is just for the week, because I want to give you guys a chance before I release it to the public. This is just for my day ones. Because I feel like everybody who watches this, who watches the Real Talk series, y'all the day ones. Like, y'all really locked in. Like, we here. That's so y'all get the real, the tea, the exclusive. But yes, and I'm also going to do a podcast scavenger hunt. So it's going to be questions from all the episodes. So I'm going to see how really locked in you are. We're going to do a giveaway. It's going to be a podcast scavenger hunt. I'm going to have, let's see, I'm going to do 3 winners, and you can receive a free copy of the journal. So it's going to be questions about all the episodes. I think like 10 questions. I'm going to work on that for y'all. I will have it to y'all, me and deadlines. You know what? I'm going to release that tomorrow. I'm saying it, so I'm going to do it. Sometimes you just got to put it out there. It will be done. I'm going to make a video for tomorrow with the questions for the podcast scavenger hunt. Okay. But yes, y'all, I really hope that y'all can really see how committed I am to making sure that I come to this platform real and vulnerable and really giving myself to you guys, because that's what this platform is for, and I really want to stay true to that, because I think that helps y'all really understand the journey and makes you keep coming back every time. But yeah, we will see you next week. We are going to be having an episode. The next episode is going to be on mental health, the effects of mental health, coping mechanisms, the signs, all that. And then I'm going to follow up with the episode with a therapist. So I'm going to have a therapist coming on the podcast who's going to talk about, from her perspective of being, in the field in a clinical role, talk about the effect of grief and mental health, and share some coping skills and just share some information, some good stuff with us. She's going to give some facts for our feelings. So I'm excited about that, y'all. But thank you. I just want to say, go get your journal. Tag me when you get your journal. Comment, I got mine. Take a picture of you using the journal. And yeah, I'll see you guys next time.
I can see you making moves. The chosen one, we steady chosen you. She dope as hell, plus she a Libra too.